In a quiet suburb of Virginia, Anna and Mark's home was surrounded by lush green trees. It was a spacious and cozy two-story house, with roses blooming in the front yard and a child's paradise in the backyard, complete with swings, a slide, and a small garden. To their neighbors, the family of four seemed like the perfect picture of a happy life. Anna was a full-time mom to their two children. 5-year-old Jenny was lively and sweet, often running around the house and chattering about things she learned at kindergarten. 3-year-old Lucas was the little troublemaker of the family, always sticking close to Anna and calling her Mom with a sweet voice. Each morning, Anna prepared a hearty breakfast for the family, then took the kids to school. Afterward, she'd tidy up the house, tend to the flowers in the garden, and occasionally head to the nearby supermarket to stock up on fresh ingredients. Her life was fulfilling and organized. Mark was a successful civil engineer, busy with work but earning a handsome income. Every time he drove home, the kids would excitedly run to him, and he'd always greet them with open arms. At dinner, Mark would occasionally share stories from work, and his humor would fill the table with laughter. Anna often found herself looking at him in those moments, feeling like the happiest woman in the world. However, in recent months, Anna began to notice some subtle changes. Mark was coming home later and later, sometimes even skipping dinner. Even when he was home, he seemed distracted, always looking down at his phone and inattentive to the kids' calls. Anna tried to convince herself that it was just the result of work stress, but these tiny shifts felt like needles poking at her heart. The moments that once overflowed with happiness now seemed veiled in an invisible shadow. She began to notice that Mark's smiles no longer seemed as genuine, and sometimes his eyes showed a distant look. These subtle changes made Anna uneasy, but she didn't yet realize that the seemingly perfect life of their marriage was slowly heading toward a stormy road. Want to know how Anna uncovers the secret behind her marriage? Click to subscribe so you don't miss the exciting continuation of the story. Since a few months ago, Mark's daily behavior gradually began to change. He started coming home at increasingly irregular hours, often citing urgent projects as the reason for his overtime. He used to spend every evening reading stories to Jenny and Lucas before bed, but now the children often looked disappointed at the empty door. Even when he was at home, Mark was rarely involved in family activities, more often than not, staring at his phone, as if the content on the screen demanded all his attention. One day, while washing Mark's shirt, Anna accidentally caught a scent of an unfamiliar perfume. It was a fragrance completely different from any she had ever used, light yet intensely seductive. At first, Anna thought it might be from a colleague's perfume that had accidentally transferred to the clothing, but as the occurrence continued, the explanation seemed less and less convincing. A few days later, while going through the family bills, Anna happened upon some unfamiliar charges. These charges were from a high-end restaurant and an expensive gift shop, and the dates matched the few nights Mark had claimed to be working overtime. Her heart sank, and her fingers grew cold. Mark had never mentioned these expenses, nor had he brought back anything related to them. These charges began to form a series of clues in Anna's mind, slowly piecing together a blurry picture. Despite these accumulating signs, Anna still tried to convince herself that everything might just be a misunderstanding. Perhaps Mark was under unspoken pressure at work. She kept telling herself that Mark was the husband she loved, the father of her children, and that he wouldn't do anything to harm the family. She began to observe every little detail about Mark, but carefully kept her suspicions hidden, torn and conflicted within herself as she sank deeper into her doubts. These days continued on, with Anna trying to maintain the normalcy of her family life while feeling an invisible pressure hanging over her. She vaguely sensed that something was quietly changing in her marriage, and the truth seemed to be just beyond her line of sight, faint and elusive. One ordinary Friday evening, Anna, as usual, was busy cleaning up the remnants of dinner. Mark sat on the couch in the living room, holding his phone, deeply focused on the screen. After a while, he yawned and said he was too tired, then walked straight upstairs to the bedroom. His phone was casually left on the coffee table, the screen turned off. Anna stared at the phone, a complex emotion rising within her. Normally, Mark would never leave his phone unattended. This time, he hadn't taken it with him. She hesitated for a moment, but ultimately, curiosity and worry overcame her inner struggle. She reached for it. When the screen lit up, she discovered that the phone had no password set. A wave of conflicting emotions rushed in, and Anna paused, her fingers hovering over the screen, unsure of what to do. But in the end, curiosity won out. She opened the messaging app. Unread messages popped up, and the sender's name read Lisa. Her heart began to race, and she held her breath as she clicked on the conversation. The messages were immediately visible. Had such a great time with you last night? I miss you. When can we meet again? Followed by playful messages with heart symbols. The intimacy conveyed in these texts was undeniable, and there were a couple of blurry pictures, one of Mark smiling at a restaurant and another of Lisa holding a glass of red wine. The dates completely matched the times Mark claimed to be working late. Anna's chest felt as though it had been hit hard by something. Shock, anger, disappointment, all emotions flooded her at once, and her hands started to tremble uncontrollably. She had tried to find reasonable explanations for Mark's behavior, but these direct pieces of evidence shattered her ability to deceive herself. However, Anna took a deep breath and forced herself to calm down. Anger and impulse wouldn't solve anything. She needed more concrete evidence to understand the full scope of this secret. So she continued scrolling through the phone, finding more details, including call logs and plans for meetings with Lisa. She carefully took pictures of all the messages for future reference. After closing the phone, Anna silently placed it back where it had been. A quiet resolve formed in her heart. She would remain silent and continue to observe until the truth fully came to light. But this discovery had shattered the trust in her heart, and she now understood that the calm life she once knew had been torn open by an irreparable crack. Anna's mind was filled with lingering doubts. Every time the night grew quiet and Mark's snoring echoed through the bedroom, she couldn't sleep, her heart torn between pain and anxiety. She knew that the few flirtatious messages on his phone weren't enough to justify her next steps, so she decided to take a more direct approach and uncover the truth. She started by looking through the credit card statements. In Mark's study, Anna carefully dug through the statements from the past few months. Using the light from her phone, she meticulously went through the details. The statements revealed several charges from high-end restaurants, along with purchases from a luxury store, expenses that were never part of their usual routine. Each transaction tightened the grip on her heart, especially those that had nothing to do with her. They pointed to a hidden world. However, the statements were just the tip of the iceberg. Anna realized she needed more solid evidence. She began setting up covert surveillance. One night, after Mark had fallen asleep, she quietly placed cameras and recording devices in key areas of the house, the living room, kitchen, even the study. She moved quickly and carefully, trying not to leave any trace. The devices were cleverly hidden within decorations and furniture, blending into the surroundings. A few days later, the devices started to yield results. One afternoon, when Anna reviewed the footage, she came across something she couldn't bear to watch. While she was out shopping, Mark had brought Lisa into their home. Lisa was wearing a bright red dress, smiling casually, while Mark looked relaxed and happy, nothing like the man he was around his family. They sat on the couch, chatting away, occasionally displaying intimate gestures. This video completely shattered Anna's last shred of hope. Every little detail on the screen felt like a needle stabbing her heart. She sat in front of the monitor, her hands over her mouth, tears silently falling. At that moment, Anna felt not only pain but also a helpless rage. The man she loved and trusted was sharing intimate moments with another woman in their home. Anna didn't stop her investigation. She continued to check the recordings, capturing more undeniable conversations that further confirmed Mark's betrayal. Though these discoveries devastated her, her resolve grew stronger. This wasn't just for her, it was for her 2 children as well. This home could no longer continue to exist in such lies. Anna's life had shifted from outward tranquility to an undercurrent of turmoil. Every step she took was filled with tension and pressure. But she understood that she was on the path to uncovering the truth. No matter the cost, she had to see it through. On a Saturday morning, the sunlight streamed through the curtains into the living room, where Jenny and Lucas sat on the carpet playing puzzles, while Anna busied herself in the kitchen, preparing breakfast. Mark, however, acted differently than usual, saying that he needed to deal with work matters at home. Anna didn't ask too many questions, but silently observed his behavior. A few hours later, Anna, under the pretense of taking the kids to the neighbor's house, left the house but didn't go far, instead hiding around the corner to keep an eye on things. Sure enough, within half an hour, a familiar black car stopped in front of their home. Lisa, dressed in fine clothes, got out of the car and rang the doorbell, after which Mark welcomed her inside. Anna stood at a distance, witnessing the entire scene, her heart sinking as if struck by a heavy blow. What bothered Anna even more was that Lisa not only entered their home, but also interacted with Mark in front of the children. When Anna returned home with Jenny and Lucas, she unexpectedly saw Lisa sitting on the couch, chatting and laughing with Mark. Little Jenny innocently ran up to them and asked, "Daddy, is she your friend?" Lisa smiled and nodded, while Mark seemed a bit flustered, trying to brush it off. At that moment, Anna could hardly control her emotions, but she held it together, pretending everything was fine, as she led the kids back to their room. That evening, after putting the kids to bed, Jenny suddenly took Anna's hand and quietly said, "Mom, that lady played puzzles with us today. She also said she likes our house." These innocent words became the final straw that broke Anna's resolve. Her tears almost instantly welled up, and the anger in her heart was finally ignited. At this moment, Anna knew that this confrontation could no longer be avoided. The anger, hurt, and pain that had built up inside her for days would finally have an outlet, and their home would face the most severe test. On a sunny Sunday afternoon, Anna's house was filled with laughter and conversation. She had specifically arranged a family gathering, inviting both sets of parents and a few close friends, planning to hide her upcoming plan behind the warmth of the meal. Mark had no suspicion, and continued chatting casually with his father in the living room, wearing his usual smile. Halfway through the meal, Anna stood up, raised her glass, and smiled as she said, "Today I've invited you all not only to enjoy delicious food and family time, but also because I have something special to share." Her voice was calm, but her eyes revealed a sense of unsettling determination. Mark looked at her, a bit confused, with his brows furrowed. Anna took out a small projector and connected it to her pre-prepared laptop. Once the screen lit up, everyone's attention turned to the wall. Anna's voice grew quieter, but stronger. "The following content might surprise you, but I feel that some things need to be faced." The video began playing. It was a clip of Mark and Lisa having an intimate conversation in the living room. Their smiles, their physical closeness, and their flirtatious words were clearly captured in the footage. The subsequent audio recordings revealed Mark's affection for Lisa and his indifference to their marriage. The entire room fell into complete silence, only the sound from the video filling the air. Everyone's expressions changed as the video continued. Anna's parents were in shock, and Mark's mother covered her mouth, unable to believe the truth unfolding before her eyes. What was most heartbreaking was that the children, confused, stared at the screen, clearly unaware of what was happening. Mark sat in his chair, pale, his fingers clenched into fists. "Anna, what are you doing?" Mark finally spoke, his voice filled with anger and shame. He tried to stand up, but Anna calmly looked at him and coldly said, "Sit down, we've all seen enough." She pulled out more evidence, including the credit card statements and screenshots of text messages with Lisa. Each piece of evidence landed like a heavy blow, leaving Mark unable to argue. "Do you know what?" Anna's voice trembled slightly but remained strong. "This home was something we built together for the happiness of the children and all of us. And you not only destroyed all of that, but tried to hide the truth." Her words were like needles, piercing the hearts of everyone present. Mark weakly slumped back into his chair, lowering his head, speechless. The room became eerily quiet, with every person feeling a mix of suppression and anger. Anna's mother finally spoke. "Mark, we never thought you could do something like this. We're deeply disappointed." Mark's father merely sighed, saying nothing. As the gathering turned into a stage for unveiling the truth, the atmosphere grew increasingly tense. Finally, Anna said with determination, "I invited all of you here because you are the most important people to us. I need you to witness all of this and support me in the steps I will take moving forward." The gathering ended in an indescribable silence, and everyone left the house with complicated emotions. Mark sat alone on the couch, exhausted, while Anna took the children to their room, softly lulling them to sleep. Though her heart was filled with pain, she knew that this was only the first step in reclaiming her dignity and moving forward in life. After the gathering, Anna did not hesitate any longer. The next morning she walked into the law office and submitted her divorce papers. Her lawyer stated that with the concrete evidence Anna had gathered, securing custody of the children and a fair division of assets would not be difficult. This gave her a slight sense of relief. The divorce process was not easy. Initially, Mark tried to resist, seeking custody of the children and disputing the division of property. However, with the undeniable evidence Anna possessed, his opposition grew weak. In court, Anna calmly narrated her experiences while Mark kept his head lowered. Occasionally he glanced at Anna, but all he saw was a pair of determined and unfamiliar eyes. Ultimately, the court ruled that custody of the children would go to Anna. Mark was required to pay regular child support, and the family home was awarded to Anna. This outcome provided Anna with a long-awaited sense of liberation. For Mark, the judgment was not just a legal decree, but also an irreversible loss in his life. After the divorce, Mark's life took a sharp downturn. His company faced client complaints due to his improper relationship with Lisa, several important projects were canceled, and his career began to collapse. He moved out of the home that had once been filled with laughter and rented a small apartment. Living alone, he began to reflect, but by then, it was too late to make things right. Anna's life, though filled with challenges, started to bloom with new opportunities. She decided to step out of the role of a stay-at-home mom and enrolled in an online course to learn how to run her own small crafts business. Every morning, she had breakfast with the kids, sent them to school, and then threw herself into a busy yet fulfilling routine. Her friends and family also extended their support, helping her through the toughest times. A few months later, her smile reappeared, now filled with determination and confidence. The children gradually adapted to the new life under her care, and the family atmosphere once again became warm and loving. One Sunday afternoon, Anna sat on the lawn in the sunlight with Jenny and Lucas, watching them laugh and play while she quietly read her book. Sunlight bathed her shoulders as if wrapping her in a warm glow. In that moment, she felt a peace she had never known before. The story ends with Anna's new beginning. She chose to respect herself, embrace the unknown of life, and create a new future for her children. Though the experience was deeply painful, it taught her to find strength in adversity.